Hello and welcome back to Authentically Shawna. I'm your host, Dr. Shawna Burke. Today I am joined by two wonderful travelers and wonderful friends, Matt and Gigi Kelley. They have taught me so much about traveling, and so I asked them to come on the pod to share some of their tips and tricks with you. Matt and Gigi have been a part of my family's life for a very long time. Gigi and my mom met when they were 4 years old and then reconnected in junior high and high school. So these are wonderful people that have been, yes, just a part of my life for a very long time. I lived with them for a little bit when I was taking a continuing education class or trying to get into grad school. So yes, I've known them and they have taught me such wonderful tricks. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Nice to be here.
So my first question is, when you first start thinking about a destination, what are the steps that you do? Do you look at flights, activities? How do you start when you are first thinking about putting together a travel itinerary?
I'm going to say, I look at Matt and say, I want to go here.
Well, we do have a bucket list. So we've already created a list of, we always wanted to go to Prague, or we always wanted to go to Iceland, or something like that. And then we have been checking them off over the last few years. Normally, that's where it starts, though.
And then we look at that place and say, what activities does that place offer? And then we move on from there. Then we start looking at those activities. Maybe it's a cycling trip, maybe it's a train ride, maybe it's hiking, but we look at what it offers before we do any of the other parts of the planning.
So it sounds like you're thinking about, okay, I want to do these excursions. It's going to take me this long. And then do you book your flights after that?
Flights actually come last. We will normally, we do a lot of research. We're both kind of nerdy and we are not afraid to use search engines to find out any kind of information. So we'll pretty much know the time window we want to go. We'll know the activities we're looking for and want to book and have a pretty good idea of what the itinerary will be. Then we'll start looking at flights.
And when do you do hotels or where you're staying?
That's a great question. Flights come before hotels the way we plan. We do hotels afterward because honestly, we've never had trouble finding a hotel anywhere. I mean, okay, yeah, it'd be great to stay at a 4-star or 5-star if we can afford it and have it available. If we have to choose something differently, and we've done Airbnbs, we've done 2 and 3-star hotels, it's always been good for us.
And how do you figure out what are the activities that you want to do? Because you guys are both so thoughtful about wanting to be a part of the history and wanting to know the history. How are you finding and sourcing information to find the best of where you're traveling to?
I want to say we start with everybody's favorite, Google. We start looking up the town, looking at the activities that could be around there and talk about it. I mean, you really do have to talk about, well, do we want to do a cycling trip in this area? Do we want to go visit that castle, or how many museums are there? And we go from there, really.
Then we'll supplement it with things like Rick Steves, and ricksteves.com is not a plug for Rick, even though I love what he does, but ricksteves.com is a great chat board and lots of information from fellow travelers. Lonely Planet, TripAdvisor, all of those things are great resources. So we use them all.
Speaking of bike trips, I want you to talk about your bike trips and what you've done and how you've seen Europe in a very, I'm going to say, unique way that most people don't see Europe.
Our first cycling trip was along the Rhine, the Rue de Vin. It was amazing, and it was so good. We decided, yes, we're going to do this again and again and again. And when I say cycling, I mean bicycling. Yeah, but we have found for ourselves that a bicycling trip does not have to be what most people think it is. Difficult.
Sweaty.
Well,
yeah.
It might be sweaty for a little bit, but it doesn't have to be without luxury either. We have found that we're not going to take our good bicycles on an airplane, sorry, airlines, but we're not going to take our bicycles that are going to cost us hundreds of dollars to ship over with us and then have to worry about how to get them out of the airport or any of that. We don't do that. We find a company that offers a cycling trip there wherever we want to go and book through them. Now, we don't necessarily take a guide. We go on an unguided tour, but we let them plan it for us. Make it easy. They're the locals. They know what they're doing. They know what's a good amount to ride that day. They know a good place to stay that day. And then we start investigating from there.
Yes, that's exactly right. The last one that we did, um, the itinerary was planned. They made the reservations at the hotels from us. But after that, we planned each day in terms of this village has a museum. Oh, that one's got a castle with a gourmet restaurant. Oh, this one has a wonderful park that we could visit. And we even will plan to bring along a picnic lunch and enjoy the park in the middle of our rides. It doesn't have to be luxury in terms of what you plan to do. But the nice thing about Europe is because cycling vacations are so popular there, there's lots of competition. There's lots of companies that do it. And it's not hard to plan.
And the cycling trails, they're great. When you're in Europe, especially, I want to say Germany is one of the best. You know, people are afraid to take a cycling trip because I don't want to ride where the cars are. And agreed, I don't want to ride where the cars are. So the nice thing about Germany in particular is that they have cycling routes all over the country. And they go from the small town to the next small town. And they're really safe.
We've never felt unsafe cycling on the different routes. France has a pretty good network as well. And not only that, but if you happen to be on a road for a little while, the culture is different in terms of driving. Drivers there expect to see cyclists. They're alerted to them all the time. It's very rare to have a close call or anything like that. Unfortunately in the States, it's not like that, but France and Germany in particular, or Belgium or Holland. Or Ireland. That's another one. Yeah.
I think in Europe, the most challenging place we rode was in London.
Us too.
When we did a trip, it was an adventure. We rode from Paris to London, and with a trip across the channel on a ferry, and it was through beautiful countryside.
It was Normandy.
Yeah, and you didn't know that you were getting close to London until you were in London, and all of a sudden you were in the traffic. But they have huge bicycle lanes there too.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't mind cycling in London at all because there's a lot of people that cycle there.
Yeah.
It's also a great opportunity, I know, from you guys to learn how to read a map, because what these companies do is they hand you a map and tell you, this is your starting point, this is where your ending point. So you really learn how to navigate maps as well.
Yes, our first trip, I'm just gonna, you can tell the little story part of it. But the first one that we did, and that was a few years ago, they handed us a booklet that they created with the map in it. Take this route, and it had a picture of the map, but it also had the written directions.
And it even had photos at certain parts where it said, go this way or whatever too.
And that's all well and good, but remember, it has been translated. So there are times when the directions given leave you to pause. Matt has a cute little story about that.
We're in the middle of nowhere I think it was in Germany, and middle of nowhere. We hadn't seen anybody for probably 2 hours. And so we're thinking, oh, this is really lovely. This is really pretty. And then we came up to a turn point, and it was a fork, literally a Y. You could go left or you could go right. And then the instructions in the map, it said, when you get to the fork at kilometer or whatever, go straight. And go straight at the fork. And I have a picture of Gigi and I, standing there, and Gigi's pointing at the sign, and then another photo from the booklet. And we go like, okay, what do we do now? And of course we said, all right, I guess we'll go this way. We were wrong. Naturally, we found out after going about 3 or 4 kilometers, this is not what they're describing. So we had to turn around, go back. So that's one thing you have to be prepared for in a cycling trip in an unfamiliar place, is that you are probably going to make a wrong turn many times. And you're gonna figure it out after a while. Then you're gonna turn around. You're gonna go back. And you're gonna take the other way. So if it says it's a 60-kilometer ride that day, plan on it being longer, because it almost always is.
And always give yourself grace, and whoever's navigating that day, give them an extra bit of grace, because it's an adventure, and that's how you have to look at all of this. It's an adventure. So okay, we took a wrong turn. Next time, let's apply the knowledge that we gleaned from this one.
I will say the first trip that Gigi is talking about, yes, it was literally, they made up a nice book. They bound it. It was great. And then the bikes that we rented had literally like a map platform on the handlebar that held that waterproof and held it down. And you'd have to lift up the plastic sheet and turn the page. And then now you're on a new page. Come a long way since then. Nowadays, There's apps that you have on your phone, and this last one, our bikes have very nice little phone holders. You put your phone in there, and there's an app that we use. It's called Komoot, Komoot, and the rental company sends you a file that you put into your phone, and now it's turn-by-turn instructions on your phone with the thing sitting right there on your handlebars.
Wow. And I also want to mention that the company that you hire takes your suitcases. So you aren't responsible for getting your stuff from point A to point B, because I know that's also sometimes a concern, but that company that you're hiring is getting your luggage from where you're starting to where you're going.
Right. We rent our bikes through them. They provide us with the maps, and they do exactly that. They pick up our luggage and move it to our next location because they know where we're going to be. And they just have a few guidelines, that you have to follow. You can only have 2 bags, and it has to be out by 9 o'clock in the morning. So we came up with routines for doing our cycling trips. Yeah. They always put us in a hotel or an Airbnb that had breakfast. So we make our breakfast and put out our luggage at the same time. We'd leave right around 9 o'clock when they said, get your luggage out by then. We'd do our ride. We'd have our picnic lunch. We'd enjoy the countryside. We'd stop for the picture. That's something else you have to do when you're cycling is you stop for the picture, and that's the joy of riding. Yeah. And then to continue on with that, we get to the next town that we're going to, check into our hotel. We immediately settle in by taking off the cycling clothes, because we always do wear cycling shorts. It's a good choice. Take our shower, clean up, and then go explore the town. Go find a place to have dinner, make a reservation for later that evening, go explore the walled city that you're staying in. Go find all the cats that might be in the neighborhood. I don't know, whatever it is, you go explore, and then you come back that evening, get ready for the next day, lay out your cycling clothes. Oh, by the way, we wash our cycling clothes, so we don't take a lot of those. We like 2 sets, and get ready and go to bed and start the whole routine over again.
Yep. And on the way, by the way, it's not like you're cycling in a forest the whole day or across a cornfield. You typically, especially that first route that Gigi mentioned along the Rhine, you're going through a little village. They might be only 2 kilometers apart. You're in the vineyards or you're in the cornfields, and half an hour later or 20 minutes later, now you're in a 1,000-year-old village, and you'll see these you can see people. You might want to stop for a beer or whatever, or you'll talk to people, and you see these interesting juxtapositions of old versus new. You'll see a brand new Mercedes car driving through there, and then some guy pushing a cart, or it's being drawn by an ox or something. And especially the little small farming villages are a very interesting way of life that we don't see too often in the United States. It makes it fun.
I love that. So thank you so much for sharing out about the bike tours, because I don't think most people know about those. So I'm so glad that you guys are so expert at them. I'm going to switch gears, and we had talked about this question prior to, and you both had been like, this is such a hard question to answer. But the question is, if you had to pick 3 cities in America to visit that aren't really spoken about maybe all that often, what are your top 3 favorite cities to visit in America?
I'm going to let Matt go first. Yeah, you go first.
Well, of course, this country the size of the United States, it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of your interests. Gigi and I are both kind of foodies, and I got to tell you, I've been very pleasantly surprised by the food scene in Dallas. I always thought of Dallas as a hot, sweaty place with lots of cows and cowboy hats, and turns out no, they actually have areas where there's an art scene, there's a food scene, street fairs, and all that kind of stuff. If I was looking to do some stuff like that, Dallas would be one of the first places I go to or I'd think of.
And believe it or not, Minneapolis is amazing they have a theater scene, they have a food scene. If you like to drink, bar scene. If you move out of the main city, they have hiking. It's just, Minneapolis is surprising, especially in the summer. I mean, but they have all of that all year round. And if you're downtown Minnie in the middle of winter, when everybody thinks, oh, I don't want to go there, how are you going to get around? They have skywalks. You can get from one block to another, and it's really not a bad place to go.
If I was going to add another city, and it's not unknown, it's one of our biggest cities, but I really like Boston. I think everybody should walk the Freedom Trail. It's just part of our history and culture, and you learn a lot of things. And it's just something that I think reinforces in a different way America.
Okay, so now the same question, but in Europe, your top 3 visits in Europe.
Go ahead. Okay, I'll go first. We went to Rothenburg this summer. We did a cycling trip out of Rothenburg, and we spent a lot of time in Rothenburg, Germany. And it is an ancient city. It's an ancient walled city. And it's amazing. Talk about juxtaposition between old and new. When you're inside the walled city, you're seeing a lot of the old buildings and stuff with, common touches of today. But then you go outside of the city and it's like any city that you want to be in. I love Rothenburg.
It always cracked me up. You'd walk down these old cobblestone walkways and see these 1,000-year-old buildings. And just as you're walking in the building, they have a little sign by the door that says, "We have Wi-Fi." It just cracked me up every time. Now, again, another one of those things where you have a little bit of the old and you have a little bit of the new. And so we get our modern luxuries, but you can also embrace and enjoy culture from a long, long time ago to make it fun.
Another city that I absolutely love is Munich.
Yeah.
Both of us do.
That was what I was going to say. It's another place that's special. It's unique. It has all the big city stuff, but at the same time, if you're walking in Marienplatz, it's old and it's great. The people are really nice there. We've never felt any bad vibe or unpleasantness in Munich. Munich is a great, great city, and if you're going to go to Germany, I would really recommend going to Munich at least once for a few days.
And I know I have another. I'm going to add Bruges, Belgium. I love Bruges. It's that old world feel, and the square is just wonderful. Do the tower walk. Then you rent bikes and you go ride around in the windmills. I love Bruges. It just is a great place. But I know there's more that you want.
Well, I'd add Prague.
You're allowed to add more, yeah.
I'm going to add Prague. Even though Prague has become very popular, it's still one of the great cities of Europe that survived World War II and has some wonderful history. And again, really nice people. We took a walking tour there that was just a blast. They have great beer culture there, by the way. That's another thing that a lot of people don't know. They think of Germany maybe or England for beer, but the Czech Republic, Prague in particular, is beer culture big time.
And I think we would both add London or that part of England to our list. I mean, we've been through London. I can't even count how many times we have, but each time we go find something different to explore. And, we were in London this last summer, and we went to places we had never been before. I mean, we're like, oh, wow, we've never done that. And so you got to want to be a little adventurous, not afraid to take public transportation. In Europe, it is easy to use and almost everywhere you can get. So it's one of those places. And then when you're in England, people don't think to go to the Cotswolds, but if you have the time
Or Bath.
Yeah, you go to the Cotswolds and relax. Go hiking the trails there. It's calm, it's peaceful. You're like in the countryside. So you got to decide what you want to see, especially when you're traveling.
That's right.
Speaking of traveling, I want to ask you, what is your biggest travel tip that you have for someone who hasn't done a ton of traveling? And I think I kind of know what you're going to say, but I think it probably has to do with packing, I would say, is your biggest travel tip.
We have talked many a person, even Shawna, into packing with carry-on for those long trips. We, this last summer, did a 55-day trip away from home for 55 days. And we took a small rollerboard and 30-liter backpack and carried everything. Just to point out, we didn't stay in one location that entire time. We were 2 weeks in Egypt. We did the cycling trip. We went to London, and then we took a cruise back to the United States. And then we went for a week and a half in Minnie. I mean, it's like you can do a lot with that small suitcase and a 30-liter backpack.
So how many things are you packing? Like, let's talk about outfit-wise. What are you packing? How do you do that? I know summertime is probably easier because you can wash in your room and it will dry quickly. Give me some numbers on how much you're packing in those bags.
I'm a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of person. So you're going to put in 5 shirts, that you know that you can wear. You're going to put in maybe 4 pieces of bottom wear, like 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shorts, maybe 3 pairs of pants, 1 pair of shorts, depending on where you're going. And you work that way down. When you get to the 1, that's going to be your 1 sweater or 1 jacket that you would wear just to make it easy, and make sure that they all coordinate together. I remember talking to Shawna and her mom, and I said, okay, these are the pants I'm taking, and these are the shirts I'm taking, and see how they all go together. And if I put this sweater with this, I do take a couple of dresses, one that's a little nicer, one that's more a little casual. But if I take the right shirts, I can wear the shirt over the dress, and it's fancied it up. You really have to kind of work at it. But if, like, my base colors this last year were black pants, blue pants, and then a pair of green pants. And so I had those going for me. My shorts were the same. They coordinated too. And I found shirts that could go with all 3. And so they just mix and match. And Matt's looking at me right now, and you can't see it. He's laughing because men don't think like this. We women have to, because so you may go to a nice dinner on a cruise ship, and you're supposed to be dressed up. Well, you make sure that your dress, which could have been your sundress during the day, now if you put the right sweater or shirt over it, becomes a lot nicer. The challenge for women is shoes.
This thing, it's a challenge for women with shoes.
Yours are just big. I got to take more. Yours are just big. You take the pair of cycling shoes. You take the pair of walking tennis shoes. You take the pair of sandals. What do I do when I'm wearing a dress? So you have to take, maybe you want a pair of nice ballerina flats, or you take a second pair of sandals that can be used for dressiness, but you don't need to take, the pumps or anything like that. You just want to make sure that you can walk in your shoes, because they have to serve dual purpose.
And you guys also bring a clothesline with you, correct? You bring soap that you can wash in a sink, and then you bring a clothesline with you.
We have learned over the years that a clothesline, thank you again, Rick Steves. His is the best one because I don't have to use clothespins. It's a braided kind that we string across, and it just grabs your clothes.
Yeah. You can attach it to anything, anything.
And for laundry soap, thank goodness all the laundry companies are coming out with laundry soap sheets.
Yes.
And they're just...
Put them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in your bag, and you're ready to go.
So when we first started out doing our cycling trips, I'm going back to that just because I'm going to talk about washing clothes.
Yes.
When we would change out of our cycling clothes, we'd immediately throw them in the sink, and we'd use the shampoo from the hotel to wash our cycling clothes. And, while we're showering, our clothes are soaking in the sink. And then we'd get out of the shower. I was the washer and rinser. And then Matt, because he had a stronger grip, was the wringer outer. And then we'd put them on that clothesline, and they'd be dry by the next morning.
Oh, yeah.
So, don't be afraid to wash clothes. If you get like your jacket or sweater, and I prefer a sweater personally, I always get a merino wool sweater because it's a wet, and it doesn't hold on to scent. So you can go with merino wool for an entire trip without needing to clean it, which is really nice. And that works for socks too.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, nobody wants to wear their socks 2 days in a row, but in a pinch, you really can.
You can, yeah. But after that, again, merino wool is wonderful. Wash it in the sink, get it nice and sudsy, wring it out really good, hang it up on the clothesline. It will be dry the next day. I mean, you don't have to worry about it.
And what are you packing your things in? Are you using cubes? Are you using how are you organizing all of your things?
Always packing cubes.
Always use packing cubes.
Compression bag.
We use the compression type now. So Eagle Creek is one that makes those, and you can get an amazing amount of stuff in a very small bag footprint. And once you zip them down and compress them, you can actually stack them on top of each other, or you can put them on their edge, kind of like a book on a bookshelf, and then you can get it much, much more. And if you just kind of think, you're doing a puzzle and try and fill in the footprint and not leave any empty spaces in your roller board, you'll always be surprised at how much stuff you can put in there.
We even we use a packing cube for our utility bag too. So we always travel with a microfiber towel, 2 different sizes, the clothesline, the laundry soap, first aid kit, and what else goes in there?
Well, and then don't forget what I call the tech bag. You need
All your
charging
chargers.
bricks and cords and
All
things
those
like that.
things can go into one of those pink tubes.
Yep.
And so they become just another piece that you fit into your luggage, however it goes. And that way, if you get stopped going into the airport and the TSA or the security is checking your bag and you open it up, you're not going to have your stuff flying all over. They're going to be able to pinpoint what bag they want to look at. You open it up and they go, chargers, which is what happened to me one time. They're like, what's that? I'm like, charging. I had a spare battery in there. Okay. And once they saw it, they went, okay. But it was all nice and compact, so they weren't able to see it through the x-ray.
Right. Nothing is loose, pretty much. The only thing for me, because some of my clothes are a little bit bigger, I mean, I'll usually travel with only maybe 2 pairs of pants, sometimes 3, because I'm wearing one, obviously, on the plane. But I found that it's better if you fold them so that they fit the length of the rollerboard, and I really push them down, make them very, very flat, so they don't take up a lot of room. So that's about the only thing of my clothes that I do not put in a packing case.
And there, like I'm a firm believer in lightweight washable pants. I know that you, Shawna, have purchased the same ones that I strongly recommend. And can I go ahead and say,
Yeah, please.
I buy Eddie Bauer Rainier pants because they have a pocket on the side of the leg that I can stick my cell phone in and secure it. They're a good fit. They can dress up. They can dress down. And when you need to wash them, they dry quickly.
I will say I have 2 kinds of them. Once you introduced us to them, we have the regular and then we have the lined version. So for cold weather, we also have the lined Rainier pants. So that's why I really like them, because you can have both a summer and winter version that are easily packable.
And I even buy the shorts, so I'm just telling you, they are the best pants to travel in. You can take an extra pair when you use those pants because they're so lightweight. But there is another pant brand that I do recommend if you are a person who really needs to wear their blue jeans. If you really love to travel in blue jeans, and I would always advise you to wear them on the plane then because they're heavier and you want to just not have that weight. But Aviator, they're a newer brand out there. They're made in California. And Aviators have hidden zippered pockets within the pant. And so you can carry your passport with you and have it zippered, or you can have money in your pockets and have it zippered and no one can pickpocket you. You can't see them. I can feel them because you have a little extra layer in that pocket, but they are the best. I even bought you some shorts that had those extra pockets in it. Those are the 2 pants that we travel with, and that's it. Pants.
And then the other question I wanted to ask you is bags, right? So you generally have your 2 main bags, but then when you're out in a city or out in a town, how are you carrying around your wallet, your phone? What are you using?
I use a travel-on bag. It's got RFID protection. It's anti-slit. So I always have a little purse bag that carries my passport. It's got my money, my wallet. It's got my lip, like chapstick in it. It's got the things that I need, and it's not very big. It's very compact. So I always carry that with me. And so I do like that travel-on bag. If we need a day pack for the day, because you're going to be carrying some extra water or whatever it is with your lunch. Again, I'm going to go back to an Eddie Bauer, the foldable Eddie Bauer backpack. Is it a 30 again?
30.
And it's when you're packing your suitcase, you can fold it up, and it's just a little,
it's tiny
little piece.
Yeah.
But what I like about this particular day pack is it's got a hidden zipper, a hidden zippered compartment that if you wanted to put your sunglasses, or you didn't feel like carrying your travel-on bag and you just had your backpack with you, you would have this hidden zippered pocket. And that way your stuff is a lot more secure. It's just like you've got to find ways to secure your stuff. Unfortunately, in the world today, there are people out there who survive by taking things from other people. So you just got to make sure your stuff is secure. You don't want a pickpocket to get you. And there are certain cities you have to research to avoid pickpockets more than other cities.
I wouldn't recommend a fanny pack. You see a lot of people with fanny packs, and they're wearing in the back or they're wearing in the front. And there's two things about fanny packs. Number one, you're basically, you got this giant blinking sign over your head that says, I'm a tourist, I'm a tourist, I'm a tourist, because nobody in Europe that lives there wears a fanny pack. And then the second thing is that they're just too easy to access for a thief. And it's better, you want to make it hard for them, not easy for them.
So my last question is, you've done a lot of traveling. What is one thing that you would say, please avoid? What's on your please avoid list, whether it's an item or a location, or what's the please avoid?
We both, I think they were going to say that, say the same thing.
Go ahead.
Don't be an ugly American. Am I right?
I was going to say that. Try to learn a little bit about the place where you're going. We always, again, we spend time researching where we're going. We always try and learn a few words in the native language. So we know a little bit of Egyptian. We know a little bit of Czech. We know a little bit of French. We know a lot more of some other languages. We obviously speak English. And we never assume that somebody we're dealing with speaks English. We always try and say hello in their language. And you certainly know the words for the bathroom or a restaurant or some very basic stuff. I think that just people like it. They warm up to it. And it just shows them that, you're traveling, and I'll say as a good traveler and trying to be friendly. The other thing I would say is, and it's back to the luggage thing, I have never gone on a trip where I thought to myself, gosh, I wish I'd taken more stuff. I always think at the end of a trip, I could have done without this or with that. And I'm always looking to try and shed pounds and shed bulk, because we've had a couple of close calls, I will tell you, in making connections to planes and to trains and things like that. And we saw people who were traveling a lot more bulky and did not make the connection that we did make. And the only reason we made it was because we travel light. And it never hurts to travel light. Try and think light and lighter and lighter.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close this up?
I don't know. I think everybody needs to travel, experience the world. And I'm going to steal a line from Rick Steves again. I mean, because he's kind of been our inspiration. This line helped us really enjoy where we go and where we've been. And that's become a temporary local. Try to, for the moment, don't think like a tourist. Think like a person who lives there.
You'll learn more traveling and seeing the world and meeting people from other places than you'll ever learn in a book. I'll just say right now, travel is broadening, and it makes you appreciate, first of all, where you came from, but also the rest of the world.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. You've been listening to Authentically Shawna with Dr. Shawna Burke. The information contained in this podcast is provided for information purposes only. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.